For more than a year, we have told you that Star Wars is losing money despite what Disney says Lucasfilm is a failure. Kathleen Kennedy is an utter source of chaos and destruction when it comes to the finances of Star Wars, of Disney, of entertainment. And now, folks, despite what we were told before the shareholders meeting, we have the proof. We have the confirmation. And folks, we'll show it to you right now. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel. We are, as always, so grateful that you are here with us. We've got a heck of a video coming up for you as we explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve. Click that like button if you like content like this. And if you like seeing guests who are great, such as Derek, the DA, back with us again. Derek, how are you?
Doing great, Pro. Doing great. We got a juicy one today. I love this topic.
Derek, is it shocking at all that we had to get through the shareholders meeting when all the big decisions were being made before the bad news came out that everybody seems to have known about, but somehow it just could not get out there? Is it shocking at all, Derek?
Not surprising at all, okay? We know how Star Wars, we know how Disney is when it comes to news. Everything is always delayed. You know, we know all the information ahead of time, but they don't come out and admit it until way, way later. So, yeah, we're not surprised about this whatsoever. This is par for the course when it comes to Disney.
Derek, let me show you how bad this is, because before the shareholders meeting, this is what we were being told. This is out of StarWarsNews.net by Grant Davis. And you know what? I bet Grant is a wonderful person. But Grant was reporting on what Disney was saying. So, you know, Grant has to report on what Disney says. No problem there. But the Disney report indicated that Star Wars movies had made 3 times their production investment. Oh, boy. This is what we were being told before the shareholders meeting. As part of Disney's latest presentation to shareholders, as they fend off activist investor Nelson Peltz, the company has revealed encouraging statistics. Oh, that's good. On their biggest brands, notably saying that the Star Wars film franchise has made 2.9 times the revenue as what they've spent on it. Here's how to read those numbers. Here's what it says. There have been some misconceptions about what these numbers mean. Misconceptions. For instance, one now deleted viral post on Twitter took the report as an indication that Disney has made about $12 billion in revenue over about 12 years based on applying the 2.9 multiplier to the $4 billion figure that Disney paid to purchase Lucasfilm. And it goes on to talk about this. But all of this turns out to be nonsense. None of this was real. So we're not going to go into the weeds of this. We're not going to try to parse out, what was true, what was untrue, because it was all nonsense. How do we know?
Yeah.
Well, here's the article out of That Park Place by John Trent, talking about an article from Forbes by Caroline Reed. It says, report, Disney Star Wars movies have not recouped the cost of purchasing Lucasfilm at the box office. And here's what it says. A new report details that the Walt Disney Company has failed to recoup the purchase price of Lucasfilm from its various Star Wars and Indiana Jones films. Back in 2012, the Walt Disney Company announced it was purchasing Lucasfilm from George Lucas for $4.05 billion, with Disney paying approximately half of the consideration in cash and issuing approximately 40 million shares at closing. The Disney-owned Lucasfilm would produce a number of films, including their sequel trilogy, that would initially make a huge splash at the box office, but over time saw huge declines. It shows that with those grosses declining, but that's not all that declined. It was also revenues and net profits, even going into the negative with Solo Story. Dropping down here, it says, Caroline Reed at Forbes has not only crunched some of the numbers, but she's also provided production budget information for these films and concludes that the films have not recovered the cost to purchase Lucasfilm. Reed reveals that Disney spent $567.3 million on The Force Awakens. However, because they filmed in the United Kingdom, the company received a significant tax return and dropped it. Similar thing with The Last Jedi, but here's where we get to the interesting thing. Watch the decline in profits. The Force Awakens, $559 million in profit. The Last Jedi, $346 million in profit. Rogue One, $281. The Rise of Skywalker, $89. And by the time they got to Solo, they lost $90 million. Now, don't forget, folks, that's not including advertising spend. So you can reduce each one of those numbers, or in the case of the 97 in the negative, you can add to that negative, because none of those, and Caroline says this, none of those include the marketing spend, the advertising spend. So this is actually far worse than what Reed notes, which is that this is $2.8 billion short of the purchase price of Lucasfilm. It's actually worse than that. Now, it goes on to talk about this even more in depth. We're not including Indiana Jones. We're not including even the price of spending on these Disney Plus shows that seem to be failures. We're not including Willow. None of that, right? Everything is set up to be in the best possible way for Lucasfilm, and yet still, this is an embarrassment for Disney, for Kathleen Kennedy. But Derek, it was held until after the shareholders meeting. I think that's inappropriate. I think it's gravely inappropriate. What do you say to this new information coming out that perhaps would have swayed investors had they known about it before it was time to cast ballots?
Well, yeah, of course, this is why you keep this type of information away from investors and why you gaslight everyone that's involved with voting, because you want to paint yourself in the most positive light as humanly possible. That's what Disney has always tried to do, which, again, to me, when you have a franchise like Star Wars, which you should just be able to print money off of, it's very embarrassing to come out and admit, hey, you know what? We've been messing things up. We haven't gotten the job done. You know, we bought this franchise. Well, not just the franchise, but all of Lucasfilm for $4 billion. And we really haven't done much with it. I think the article said, what was it? $1.2 billion over the last 12 years. That's all you can account for in terms of film. And then I found it amazing that they didn't mention, you know, in the original reporting, that there were production and marketing costs, you know, for the films that came out. It's like they were trying to pretend, well, we spent $4 billion and then we turned it into $12 billion without mentioning the fact that, well, we had to make movies. Like, these movies just didn't appear out of thin air when you purchased Lucasfilm. You actually had to put money into making the movies. You had to put money into marketing the movies, you know, and that includes Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and everything involved with the purchase of Lucasfilm. So how can you pretend that, okay, we've made $12 billion? Like, it didn't make sense when they originally reported that number. It's like, something's not right. They're missing something. Something doesn't make a lot of sense when it comes to this. And the worst part about this is, why not just say, you know what? We've messed up. You know, we've dropped the ball with Star Wars. We just haven't gotten the job done, you know, when it comes to this.
Derek, you're asking them to take responsibility. Derek, real quick, let me say this. Let me just insert this real quick.
Yeah.
From Disney's side, I agree with you. Disney should be telling us what the marketing costs are. Disney doesn't want to do that. From the analysis side, I think it's poor form when the websites pretend as if there is no such thing. But for Caroline's defense, I have to say, you know, we guesstimate what the marketing spends are based on what we find out from other similar films when that information is available. The reason that we know the production costs, but we don't know the marketing costs, is because the production costs come from the United Kingdom from required tax filings. But the marketing is spent out of the United States. That's why that's out of our reach exactly. And that's why we have to do things like, we know the exact loss that Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny made from production. What we don't know is how much did they spend on marketing. And so we guess, based on similar films, we could say, well, this film likely lost somewhere between $250 and $300 million. But we have to do these approximations. But that's why, and it's because Disney doesn't share that information.
Well, it would be bad news if they explained, you know, actually how much money they are spending on.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect a company to come out and say it's worse.
It's worse than what you think it is. But I think what's even worse than this, Pro, is not only the fact that they don't give, you know, full disclosure about, you know, as much as they can possibly give us about what's going on with these films and these projects and everything that's going on. The worst thing is that they're gaslighting everybody to thinking, oh, we're doing great, we're doing fine, even though the public can clearly tell that we're not doing fine. You know, Star Wars right now has never been in a lower spot. It's lower than when it was when Disney purchased the property. When Disney purchased Lucasfilm, Star Wars was still doing great. And if they had done nothing with Star Wars, if they had just bought Star Wars and just let it sit as it is, it would probably still be in a much better position than it is right now. So at this point, I don't know what the future prospects are for Star Wars. So not only have they not made the money that they probably should have made, going forward into the future, what does it look like for Star Wars now? Like, how much money are they going to make for this franchise moving forward? Like, that's completely up in the air, and it's doubtful at best that they're going to turn a profit going forward. Like, the next thing that's coming out is the Acolyte. You know, how's the Acolyte going to turn into money for this company? Are they going to be able to sell merchandise? What are they going to be able to do with this you know, all of the money that they spent on this property? You know, and then Skeleton Crew is coming out after that, Kids in Space. Is anybody interested in that? Not really. And then we have a movie coming out 2 years from now that a lot of people are not going to have the interest in. So, I mean, they have just absolutely bungled this property. And the fact that this news is coming out, oh, yeah, they really didn't make the money that they claimed that they made off of this. It's just a huge black eye, another huge black eye for this franchise, for Kathleen Kennedy, for Lucasfilm, for Disney, everybody involved. And it's really sad, to be honest with you. Instead of just admitting, hey, you know what, we dropped the ball, we need to do better, they decide to make up stories, lie, gaslight, et cetera, and so forth.
And get through shareholder meetings with those kinds
and
of
get through the
mistruths.
When did that the original report came out March 15? Isn't that convenient that it comes out like about 2 weeks ahead of the shareholder vote? Oh yeah, we're doing great. It's funny how that news comes out at that time, and Absolutely. Then, here we are a month after the fact. And none of it's true.
Right, total opposite. Now, Derek, I want to address and dissuade some folks. There's a particular argument that seems to be going around from those who are still defending Star Wars, few as they may be, and the argument is that, well, Disney's not done yet, and this is going to turn around and all of that sort of thing. And so I just want to put this into comparison. Although I listen, I think most people out there who are reasonable have reasoned at this date that Star Wars is damaged, and it's not getting better. It's getting worse. But, Derek, if Disney had taken that $4 billion and invested it in the stock market, they would have dramatically enriched their shareholders versus this expense. Somebody was asking me, well, how do you know if it's returning an appropriate amount of investment? And that's what you say back, is you say, one, is it keeping up with inflation? Okay, no, so that's a net negative. Right. Two, is it keeping up with the stock market? No, okay, well then just investing it flat out into the stock market would have been better than this.
Yeah.
Star Wars is doing dramatically worse than any of that, right? And this is a depreciating franchise at this point.
Oh yeah.
Derek, is there anything like, are we in a stronger position now where Star Wars might be able to pull out of this funk? Like, or are we now on the downswing in terms of popularity amongst the general populace?
Well, I've said it many times that Star Wars is literally sitting at the bottom of the ocean floor right now in terms of, entertainment. It's still a franchise that a lot of people are going to check into, but in terms of what it was able to do, when George Lucas owned the property and when George Lucas was making content, compared to right now, where Star Wars is at, a dozen years after it was purchased by Disney, it's never been in a worse state than it is right now. They want to push this High Republic era. Nobody's bought the novels. No one cares about this. Nobody knows any of the characters. And now they're coming out with this series. The trailer it's getting absolutely destroyed, laughed at. Star Wars right now, or should say Disney Star Wars, is an absolute mockery of what it once was. So no, Star Wars is not in a strong position at all. See, like I said, trying to look into the future and see, okay, what's coming down the line for Star Wars that fans can be positive about, that fans can get excited about. Everything that's coming next from Star Wars. I take it back. There is the second season of Andor that a lot of people are looking forward to. But outside of that, I think people are just kind of meh on the entire franchise right now. I mean, we got maybe a Rey movie coming up in a couple of years. Exactly. Like, who cares? That's like what we get right now from Star Wars. If you go back 12 years ago when, they first purchased it, there was some excitement. Oh, well, maybe we'll get, the original cast back for another Star Wars adventure, Han, Luke, and Leia. Maybe we'll get those characters back. And we thought we were going to get that. But then they completely botched that, and Star Wars has never been the same since. So I think I think they've missed the boat on what Star Wars fans are looking for, what means something to Star Wars fans. They've missed the boat entirely, and which is sad because they have a franchise that means a lot to a lot of people in their hot little hands, and they just don't know what to do with it because they either don't know or they don't care what the fans want, and either one of those is a bad option.
And Derek, they bought this thing for $4 billion, but when they bought Lucasfilm. It wasn't Star Wars; it was Lucasfilm, and so they bought the Lucasfilm campus. They bought ILM. They bought Skywalker Sound. They bought all of this stuff that went with it. Star Wars, whatever it was worth back then, it is worth way less because look at if you were to sell Star Wars today, just compare to what the excitement was for The Force Awakens to whatever you could gin up now, and it's like, well, nothing. You'd have to start all over. So, the idea that this franchise is in serious distress. Anyway, this is something that, it's no surprise to you. It's no surprise to me. It's no surprise to our viewers. And that's because we are part of a network of channels that have been telling the truth. And so Forbes has caught up, and we're happy for them. We wish the shareholders had known some of this stuff, but let me show you this real quick, Derek, because it turns out that channels such as our own, this coming from Valiant Renegade, have known this and nailed it a year ago. This is why, folks, if you want to know the truth, you need to come to these kinds of channels. Here's just a quick intro from basically a year ago.
How much did Star Wars really cost the Walt Disney Company? That's the question we're going to try to answer today. Many folks out there will hearken back to 2012 on October 1st, when George Lucas and Bob Iger of the Walt Disney Company announced the Lucasfilm sale to Disney for $4.05 billion. But since then, Disney has spent billions upon billions more investing in the property they bought nearly 11 years ago. Now, a lot of folks out there have had questions. What did the movies that Disney produce really cost the Walt Disney Company? And today we have that answer. And the truth, frankly, is going to shock you.
And so that is just an example, Derek, that we have been saying this. And the boo birds out there have been saying, you guys don't know what you're talking about. You're totally wrong. Star Wars is making tons of money. This is a great franchise. You guys are just haters. Derek, we've been right the whole time. We've been right the whole time. And gosh darn, it's because we know simple math. How about that?
Bro, when you talk about keeping us ahead of the culture curve, when you talk about keeping people ahead of the news, like the analysis that goes through Valiant Renegade is, in my opinion, the best in the game when it comes to entertainment analysis. He knows what he's talking about. I found his channel just like many others, and I was just glued to this guy because I was like, wow, he's opening my eyes to things that I had no idea about. And so videos like what he put out there a year ago, okay, that people are now finally starting to catch up with. It's just truly amazing. But again, this is what it's about. Staying ahead of what these studios and these entertainment companies and everybody is saying about what's happening right now in the industry. Again, channels like yours, channels like WDW Pro, you guys keep us ahead of that. You're able to see between the lines or read between the lines. You're able to see the tea leaves and make accurate predict. What's your rate? I think you're like 95% or whatever.
92.5 for last year was the
I
scoop
gave
and
you a little
rumor.
bit too much credit. 92%.
Well, I appreciate it.
I mean,
I appreciate
you're
it, Derek.
right there. That's an A, right? That's an A minus, I guess. We'll
just call it. We'll round it to an A. We'll round it to an A.
All right, let's call it an A.
But yes, Valiant Renegade has, he has brought something new to the table, and I think people need to appreciate that. There were not many channels, if any, that were covering the finances of entertainment to the level that he has done. I could congratulate Jonas J. Campbell, who was part of that investigation, huge part of it, in getting those documents and figuring out which production codes went with which movies. And then also, I think about like Master the TDS. Our community is filled with experts. Master the TDS is exposing these bots, this brand new system of how bots are working to manipulate social media using paid, quote unquote, verified accounts with individual bank accounts attached to them, and manipulating social media in favor of the corporations. And Derek, I think about you and your channel and what you're doing, because you're bringing a unique perspective to all of this. And I cannot wait until we have a track record of years to look back, and many, many subscribers as well for you, and say, look at Derek right there. He knew exactly what was on the horizon. Derek, as we wrap up this conversation today, it's a victory lap for those of us who have been analyzing it, but it's not a victory at all, because we would 1,000 times over prefer Star Wars be a great franchise today that we were all enjoying. Those would be more fun videos to make. But
absolutely.
All of that said, Derek, you still make fun when fun is hard to find. Tell us what you've got coming out on your channel real soon.
Well, actually, I got a video I'm working on right now discussing Star Wars and, how they just don't really get what the fans are looking for. There's a story out about the acolyte trying to outdo lightsaber duel of the Phantom Menace. Like, that's the focus. Instead of good storytelling, compelling characters, let's try to outdo what George did, you know? And it's like, come on, guys, you know, we really have to start focusing on what George originally gave Star Wars, which is compelling stories, great storytelling, classic good versus evil battles. That's what made Star Wars great back in the 70s and the 80s. If somehow, some way, Star Wars can find a way to get back to that kind of storytelling, hey, we're back in a better position. I think Star Wars can be great again. But right now, based on the people that are working over there and what they have, their agendas and everything that they're pushing, Star Wars is in a bad spot. So yeah, look for that video. I'm working on that now. And then, of course, you know, my channel has a live stream going on every Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, the DA's office. Look forward to that. Just passed 11,500 subscribers. So thanks to all of you.
Holy cow.
Yes.
Derek, you're growing so quickly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's just like yesterday I was at 10,000. And so, yeah,
You've taken
great.
off, man.
It's awesome. I am loving all of the
You have been discovered.
Well, you know what, Pro? I thank you for that. I thank guys like Echo Base Network, and then also Film Threat. And like, you know, there's a great network. Like, you're talking about the network that we are building here. It is phenomenal to be a part of that, because the main thing we want is just great entertainment so that we can go back just to loving things. And then sometimes people think we're negative. We're not negative. We're just honest. You know, we're being honest about what it is that we're seeing out there, and we're hoping for better, you know. And so maybe by calling this stuff out, we'll get better Star Wars, we'll get better Marvel, we'll get better content overall across the spectrum. So that's why I started my channel, and hopefully other people will join in with this movement, because I think we're doing a great job. And I think, you know, especially guys like Valiant Renegade calling it out from an entertainment and financial perspective, that's going to bring a lot of eyes to, you know, what's really going on over there at Disney.
Absolutely. And folks, make sure you check out Valiant Renegade today, because he's going to be releasing a video just about this, and the idea that we've been telling you now for a very long time. And it's no fun to tell you we told you so, because in this case, Star Wars sucks. But that you can put to bed. It is no longer questionable. It is no longer up for debate. Sorry for all the crazies out there, but this one is a hard fact. And it's hard for some people to accept it. But Star Wars under Disney is a failure. It's flat out a failure. And so is Kathleen Kennedy. So got to get rid of all the people who made this into a giant failure, when every possible force that existed in the world was for this to be great. And they somehow managed to screw it up, even despite. And for those who might say, Derek, that you and I are haters, go back and watch our reviews of Godzilla -1, which was a phenomenal movie. When it's good, we say it's good. X-Men 97, I didn't think there was any way this would be good. You know, I might change my mind as we get into the last episodes, but so far, it's really good. Folks, we call them like we see them as best we can. And Star Wars, we're calling you, and we have been for a while now. That's what we got to say about you. All right, folks, like, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below, low, and let us know your thoughts, because we actually care, and we read them. Folks, also don't forget the Pro Show is live Tuesdays at noon Eastern time, and That Park Place live, well, it is noon Eastern on Thursdays. Of course, you know already that our great friends at Midnight's Edge in that same time slot, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. All right, we have come to the end yet again, but fear and fret not, for more videos are on the way each day, daily. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and despite what they've done to your franchises, keep having fun.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Well, you see, I wanted to get some inside scoops on Disney and their different corporations, if you know what I mean. So I figured by looking into this fistbowl and sucking it randomly with my own energy that I pay for, you paid for, I could do the whole experience where you can be a master and spy on your targets.
You're an idiot. If you want to get the inside scoop on Disney, or even other media organizations, you should check out thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel. That'd be way easier, more accurate, and, less dumb.
Are you saying I won't get accurate information this way?
No, you can't.
Who'd have think?